All right, our last lesson in this section is on sampling methods, how to take a good sample that represents the population. So much of statistics concerns generalizing about observed findings from a sample to a larger population. This topic explores methods for selecting a sample so that trends and patterns observed in the sample can be reasonably generalized to a larger population of interest. An important statistical property known as sampling variability refers to the fact that values of sample statistics vary from sample to sample. And we'll model this a lot in class. You'll know what this looks like. The precision of a sample statistic refers to how much the values vary from sample to sample. Precision is related to sample size. Sample statistics from larger samples are more precise and close together than those from smaller samples. So you might want to mark that. It's pretty important. Sample statistics from larger samples are more precise and closer together than those from smaller samples. Statistics from larger random samples, therefore, provide a more accurate estimate of the corresponding population parameter. So these are the different methods that they use, right? Simple random sample. This is a sample of size n subjects, so n is a number, sample of size n subjects selected in such a way that every possible sample of the sample size n, of the same size, has the same chance of being chosen. A systematic sample. A sample in which the researcher selects some starting point and then selects every k or whatever element in the population. So that's like you pick every 10th person. Like, don't let this trip you up. It's like every 10th or 11th or whatever, 20th. So, like there's some system to the way you do it. Every other row, something like that. A stratified sample. A sample in which each researcher subdivides the population to at least 2 different groups or strata, and then draws a sample from each subgroup. So, for instance, like we have freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, right? I can't survey everybody, but if I got 50 freshmen, 50 sophomore, 50 juniors, 50 seniors, this would be a stratified sample. I've broken them into groups and then taken a sample from each group. A cluster sample. A sample in which the researcher first divides the population into sections or clusters and then randomly selects all members from some of the clusters. So this is a little bit harder to differentiate between stratified and cluster, but here's the key word, all. Okay? So each of the little groups that it makes, or clusters, is like a mini version of the population. Okay? So and they usually are geographically close to one another. Like if I wanted to know about middle school students, if I picked a couple, like a middle school, and sampled everybody in that middle school, that would be a cluster of middle school students. But the key thing is when you pick your cluster, then you have to sample everyone in it. Not just 5 or 10, but everyone in it. Then the last type is multistage sampling, using multiple methods discussed to sample from the population. For instance, you could do, like we talk about that stratified, you could stratify by grade and then systematically choose within the grades. Every 5th person you choose, every 5th sophomore you meet, you choose them until you have 50 sophomores, something like that. So when you have multiple methods kind of stacked on one another, we call that multi-stage sampling. All right, easy enough. When we get into class, I'm going to show you some, we're going to demonstrate some of this in some activities we're going to do. So we'll see you there.